Welcome to Echoes of the Mind. Today we're exploring how university students from both psychology and non-psychology programs view and manage their mental health. So, we have gathered here a diverse group of students to share their thoughts on important questions like, do students really understand what good mental health is? But the question here today is, do you understand what mental health is?
Hello everyone, I'm Susan and I'm studying psychology.
Hi, my name is Moiko and I'm studying psychology.
Hi, my name is Amanda and I'm also doing my psychology degree.
Hi, my name is Shakira and I'm also doing psychology.
Hi, I'm Jeremy and I'm studying degree in contemporary music.
Hi, I'm Letitia. I'm currently studying accounting and finance.
Hi, I'm Purani. I'm currently studying ACC.
Hi, my name is Ali and I'm studying data analytics.
Do you believe university students have a clear understanding of what constitutes good mental health?
I think in Sunway particularly, a lot of people know the concept of mental health, but I don't think they really know what constitutes it exactly. I think they don't really understand what it means to have mental health issues or what actually it is. I think some people may over-dramatize or over-exaggerate what it is. Like having a short attention span doesn't mean you have ADHD, but people think that is the same thing. Or like being stressed over exams isn't depression. You know what I mean? But there's also a lot of people who underestimate what they have. They may have low-key bipolar disorder, but they don't know that. They may have depression and they don't know that. I think there's a lack of knowledge, which is surprising given how many campaigns we've had in university so far. But I think a lot of students just know about it because low-key mental health is like a trend right now. Like, we're so in, we know what it means, but actually a lot of them don't really know, in my opinion.
I do have a mixed opinion about this, but my general opinion is that no, students don't. I think everybody has some understanding of what good mental health is to them, but that is subjective for everyone. So the question mentioned that a clear understanding. So I think that requires more awareness. So like we need more education, which I think maybe people are getting more educated about like disorders or more on the negative aspects of mental health. But what exactly is good mental health? I think if you were to ask, especially a non-psychology student, I don't think people would be able to describe that.
If you don't mind me hopping on to your point, I feel like everybody's mental health, their opinion on mental health is somewhat affected or it's somewhat influenced by as mentioned, like trends. You mentioned before, trends. It's just people hopping onto the train basically these days. It's not that they fully understand what it is, and as well as that is everybody's mental health is different. They each have their own stuff that they have to handle. They each have their own struggles, their own way of feeling happy. So I don't think anybody can have like a full comprehensive understanding of mental health.
Do you think mental health is given enough importance in the university curriculum across all faculties?
I noticed that under our Faculty of Medical and Life Science, especially our School of Psychology, because we attended every of the lectures and tutorials, so every time our lecturers also reminded us to seek any professional help if needed. So even we join any psychology club or even peer counseling volunteers, we are also to do that and also promote this kind of awareness. However, I rarely notice that other faculties and other courses promote every time during their lectures.
Personally, my belief is that students also are human beings and are not machines that are operating constantly 24/7. One thing I do believe is that the lecturers are also quite senior lecturers and they're not at the younger age. So there's less understanding in that aspect. And it's more about grinding 100% because we don't have any assignments. So it's 100% exam based. and generally you don't interact with your classmates unless really required. There's no group projects for you to just talk with them. So I do believe, like, especially students who are generally introverted, they don't get to communicate with their classmates or interact or have like a proper social environment around them. Is mainly centered around, oh, I have to score this, I have to pass this exam, I have to finish this exam and then get over it, kind of thing. And the lecturers kind of put a lot of pressure. There's this thing, if you don't attend 3 classes in a row, or not in a row, like doesn't matter consecutively or like off and on, they send you an email to your parents. One. Number 2, they check your homework as well if you don't complete it, and then it's kind of embarrassing because the classes are like 100 capacity. So if you do get called out, not everyone can handle it quite well. And yeah, the lecturers are kind of senior lecturers. So the senior lecturers, like I mentioned earlier, so the way they approach when students fail something or students don't understand something is more like, oh, why don't you understand? Instead of, okay, it's okay, I'll teach you and explain to you how to actually approach this question, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, for me, I come from Sunway Business School. However, we don't really emphasize on mental health as much. When it comes to the importance of mental health, I feel like everyone goes to class just to grind. They just do their work and then go back home. Some of them don't really interact. So I feel like there's a sense of loneliness when you enter a class. You feel like you don't belong anywhere, or like they just there, but they don't want to like communicate with other people. They just study. As for like workshops and stuff, I feel like they don't have a specific mental health awareness. Usually the council, like SUSC, they would do that, or like other SLB. But for business school, we don't really do that. We focus mainly on business related workshops. So yeah. Oh yeah, in business, they always emphasize on like the hustling culture. Like if you're lazy, you're out of the league, man. You're out of the game. So you always have this mentality of like, gotta grind every day, gotta ace this subject. So like, yeah, sometimes I do feel like, wow, I feel like left behind sometimes. So you have to consistently hold out this amount of pressure on top of that. Yeah.
And also, because under our school of psychology, we have also distributed into a different mentor. Why we have this mentor-mentee program is because whenever we need any professional help, we can even see our own mentor personally at anywhere, anytime. Yeah.
Wait, is it like the subject or like how?
Our program, we have the mentor-mentee. Yeah. So every long semester we have our own like mentor-mentee list. So every of us, we have our own mentor lah. Whenever we need anything, we can just email them and we can seek that anytime.
Do you think most students know how to manage their stress and anxiety effectively during exam seasons?
So I think effectively is a very vague term in my opinion lah. I'm not really a psychology student, so I'm not so sure what is the proper way around it. But I'm sure everybody here, if you're going through a tough time of stress, you definitely know your ways to cope with these type of things lah. So for example, you see some people drinking, you see some people smoking, etc., etc. Or they might play games or whatever not. So I feel like the coping mechanism or the way they like get away with it is very different. So I don't think there's necessarily an effective or ethical or nice way, because everyone will just cope with it at its own pace. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's my opinion on this.
I feel like I can binge watch a show as fast when it comes to a very high pressure situation. So let's say if I have exam 1 week before, I feel like I can finish a show because I'm too stressed. So it depends on people. Sometimes that's how I cope. Well, for me. But I know some of my friends do the same. They find it easier to binge one shot, especially during or near exam season as compared to right after, because when it comes to handling pressure, they feel like it's much better to escape that way. So yeah.
Okay, so to cope effectively, I would say no, because I believe like things like drinking or like binge watching shows, not trying to like hurt you guys or anything, but like I feel like that's not a coping mechanism, but that's more of shutting down your stress. So I feel like stress should be something that's communicated, because shutting it down doesn't help you like, you know, get rid of it. It's gonna come back again, right? It's gonna come back and back again. So instead of that, it's better to communicate it maybe with your friends, family, or your lecturers if you know you feel like the workload is too heavy.
Yeah, that's the reason why I said there's no effective way around it. Yeah, that's why people do a lot of weird stuff. So that's the reason why I say that lah. Yeah.
Also, sorry not to completely go against it, but I agree 100%. It should be communicated. You should communicate with your friends, your lecturers, and everything. But I feel like it's also up to that person's level of comfort, whether they are comfortable with communicating their stress and their struggles with somebody else, letting somebody into their life like that, you know?
I think if to add on to Moiko's point and also agreeing with that actually, a lot of the students in Sunway, I think they have this tendency to develop like learned helplessness, which is basically something in psychology term, but basically it means that after a few tries of trying so hard but still not getting the desired results, so you just learn to be like, you know what, like it doesn't matter anymore. So even near exams, the stress of the exams whatever should be hitting, but it doesn't. And then later when you get the results, you're sad, but then you still don't work hard because of the learned helplessness, and then the cycle repeats. I think that's one of the reasons that influences the coping mechanisms that students tend to have when they are experiencing stress, which is to not face it at all. Watching shows, drinking, smoking, just avoiding it altogether, like Moiko said, and them as well. Yeah.
Do you think students in your faculty are comfortable when it comes to seeking professional help for mental health issues?
As a psychology student, yes, I think that majority is comfortable. Obviously not everyone, but I have heard that a lot of the students that use Sunway counseling services are psychology students. So I don't think it means that psychology students have more issues, I think, but I think it's more about the awareness of it, because we are exposing ourselves to like mental health related topics every single day. This is our field of interest, so it means more to us, and so it makes sense that we will want to have more priority on seeking help for ourselves compared to other faculties or courses.
Personally, I agree with Amanda. So I think in our psychology field, I think seeking professional help is quite generalized for us. So I believe that like majority of us, including myself, as seek professional help before. So I think because as a psychology students, we already trying to understand and gaining knowledge through this field. So we understand that actually everyone also will be facing this kind of issue every day. So it's quite a common thing. It's not like a psychopath or any like psychological disorder, and it's quite a common thing. So I think we are just trying to seek someone to have a talk and try to like release our stress, release ourselves, like showing our real self lah.
I know that mental health, like earlier, I think the first question mentioned earlier, Shakira told about how it's become a trend and how everyone is like becoming more aware about it, but also dramatizing it. Yes. There's also another part where, although they talk about, okay, we have to take mental health seriously, talk about it more often, there is still, I do believe, a certain amount of stigma, like a taboo around mental health itself. Even though people show outwardly, we actually care about being mentally depressed or having mental health or having issues to actually study and all that, while they do talk about this, when it comes to like a specific situation and someone does approach the topic about it, I'm struggling to actually focus, I'm struggling to study, I'm struggling to pay attention during class, lecturers, like mentioned earlier, faculty members, lecturers don't tend to take this seriously. I think I mentioned this earlier also. They tend to view it as an excuse or a cause of laziness from the students itself. And even among friends, they don't take you seriously as well. I do think this is an issue also, but there are a lot of people nowadays who use humor as a coping mechanism. So they tend to twist the whole thing into something, ha ha ha, laugh about it, and then not take it seriously. And I think this actually causes a lot of detrimental effect for the students, the ones who actually are trying to reach out for help. Because no matter what we say that mental health is gaining awareness, there is still, like I mentioned earlier, a stigma, a taboo word, if you say so. So like, I wouldn't say a lot of students are comfortable for approaching help because it seems like you're someone who is having issues and immediately like an illness instead of being seen as something that needs to be taken care of.
To add on to Bernie's point as well, I agree that a lot of students are now using humor as a coping mechanism, and I think that is I think that's something to do with our generation, with making like trying to unseriousify fun, like serious things, right? But I think that even in psychology itself, you would think that psychology students would be more understanding to people with mental health issues, but it's actually not really the case, because we learn all the things as a concept, as like, okay, this is what I learned, this is the facts, this is how to treat someone with this issue. But then we don't learn a lot of the application. So I think a lot of psychology students don't really learn the empathizing part of being in this field. So we lack a lot of that connection with other people who have mental issues. Because I know a lot of people in psychology who still joke around about mental issues, whether it be depression or whatever. So even if someone wants to seek advice, I think if they were to ever tell their friend or something, they would know their friend or the classmates or whoever would see them differently. And the fact that we would be seen differently scares us. I mean, it scares anyone to be seen differently just because you have a different set of thoughts and behaviors, right? So I think that's why it's not really unexpectedly in psychology. It's quite a stigma as well, I'd say.
Like a lot of my classmates, in fact, don't even know that there's such thing as counseling. The student life providing counseling, because I've sought it out. So they're like, oh, there's such thing as counseling available in student life, and like, oh, how can you go to that? Are you really something wrong with you? So it's like they don't approach it in a manner where it's concerning, but rather that, oh, why? It's like the mild confusion and like uncertainty kind of thing. Yeah.
Actually, I understand your point, because most of the students like thought that we seek professional help is like a stereotyping, like thought like we are having like something kind of mental illness or any kind of psychological disorder or something. Actually, not majority, but sometimes we are students, like we didn't diagnose any kinds of mental illness. We want to seek professional help, not only to release our feelings and also any kinds of distress. We are trying to seek like direction on how are we thinking for the issue, like, because most of the students thought we seek professional help is to trying to seek out a solution, not actually, because as a psychologist counselors, their role is to help us to direct a way, to help us to think it properly, and also help us to find coping strategy that are suitable for us. Yeah, because everyone is different, so we need someone to direct us to, so that we feel it better and we able to think it positively.
To follow up, do you believe mental health issues are taken seriously by your family members?
I honestly disagree with this because I think there were several times, this is based off personal experiences, my siblings, my sister, my brother, whoever, I think there were several times where I tell them, oh, brother XXX is depressed, or sister is going through some stuff right now. My parents, they will always say, depression, you're so young only, what is there to be depressed about? You're still living the life at your youngest age. You have nothing to be depressed about in compared to me. Something along these lines, which to a certain extent, I honestly don't blame them, because they're at the age where they can see these things as like really, really minor issues. But to us, it's very, very big. And I feel like they should at least step into our shoes once and understand that, okay, they were young once, they had to deal with these type of problems in their past, or maybe not, since it's a different generation, different era. But essentially, we're living in the social media era, we're living in this era of like, there's different set of challenges which I don't think the adults would relate to. And I feel like they should also go a bit easier on us sometimes, and they should understand that depression will happen, or mental issues will happen amongst like people like us.
So for me, I disagree with the question as well, but I do agree with Jeremy. So I believe that parents are not aware of what mental health is. So like I believe mental health is also pretty new because like there's a generation gap between us and them, right? So I would say one, they're not aware, and number two, they are also in denial that like their children are facing these problems. So it doesn't only apply to stuff like depression or like anxiety. I would say like younger children as well. They may be facing stuff like ADHD, autism, but the parents are in denial that their own child is going through this problem. So I would say the biggest problem is awareness. So once they are aware of the problems that their children are facing, I feel like things would be better.
I think this varies from different people because personally, my parents are very open-minded and they're understanding lah. Because back then, they used to feel the same way in my shoes, so they tend to go easy on me as compared to like other people because they're also aware lah. Like, oh, maybe you're young now, so it's very hard for you to regulate emotions. So it's pretty understanding. So yeah, you are maturing as you get older. So for me, in my family, they're pretty open-minded. So when it comes to opening up about feelings, we are open to share these thoughts.
Do you think universities are doing enough to support students' mental health?
Okay, so I think as mentioned just now by some of the psychology students, they have opened this free counseling services. Correct me if I'm wrong. When I first came to Sunway, I actually saw this being advertised several times here and there, like posters and whatnot. But it wasn't like completely like shown to the world. But then again, I feel like Sunway is trying its best to like support these type of mental health issues. Sustainability goals. There is one that is related to mental health issues, if I'm not wrong, or the well-being of somebody's health. I think they're always trying to like do better and help the students in terms of mental health issues. So that's the reason why I feel like even though yes, the university may be a flawed school, but then again, no one's really perfect. Everyone, they're at least still trying their best to like do it.
Personally, I believe that student life, student leadership bodies and club societies, generally they do try to promote mental health a lot. But the problem is I feel that it doesn't go across to like all the faculties in Sunway in general. I don't think it actually comes across to the students much. I'm aware because I got involved in the student leadership body, but I don't think, but since it's an exam-based course, they generally don't get involved in club societies. They feel they don't have time, so they're not aware of, oh, there are mental health promotions, such as things like this that are going on around campus. So I think while Sunway is trying their best to actually promote it as much as they can to students, there is still more they can do to actually really spread awareness among other faculties as well.
For me, I agree that the university is definitely trying and I see the effort, but obviously there is always room for improvement. The two things that I can think of right now that I think can be improved is related to counseling. So first is what counseling is. I don't see outside of psychology, like us learning in class, people really explaining what goes on in counseling, and I think that plays a big factor, at least to me lah. As a psychology student, it plays a big factor on whether people choose to go or not. I think a lot of people don't know what actually goes on in there, and it's important for them to know because they are choosing to be vulnerable when they attend counseling. So they should be equipped with the knowledge that they need. And the second thing is who needs counseling. I think there is definitely a lot of misconceptions, even among psychology students, about like whether or not you should attend counseling. Like, especially whether your problem is big enough that you should attend. Like, is this something that is, maybe it's just something I need to figure out on my own. Maybe counseling is only for like the bigger problems. Or there's also the misconception that everyone needs counseling. To an extent, everyone would benefit from counseling, but not everyone needs it. And then, because some people can cope pretty well themselves. On the other hand, your problem, there's no such thing as a big enough problem. Like counseling, you don't really go to counseling to get advice. You go there to like for the counselor to kind of help you and like lead and guide you through solving your problem. So that can be applied to like even big and small problems. So I wish that even though this is not solely on the university's part, I think they should definitely do more regarding those 2 points.
Actually, I think I agree with them lah. So I believe that most of SLBs like are trying to like carrying out all those different kinds of events related to mental health team. Unfortunately, other than we are trying to promoting this mental health awareness, we are facing like lack of promoting seeking professional help and also counseling service. So it means that although we are acknowledging these mental health issues in knowledge, but we didn't promote like the ways of solving this problem or seeking what way to help them. So I think I agree with Aminda, like we should trying to promote what to expect during the counseling service and what should we prepare like to avoid some of us afraid of seeking this counseling service, and also so that majority of us are not afraid to exposing ourselves lah.
If your university introduced mandatory mental health and well-being programs for all students, would you support it?
For me, I think it's similar to asking why should we learn sejarah. So yeah, basically how we should learn how to walk in other people's shoes, so it makes us more empathizing. So I think it's a good idea, but not everyone would support it. Yeah, but I feel like it's a good initiative, so people will be more understanding in whatever they do.
I definitely support the mandatory part because in my opinion, if it's not mandatory, then the people who choose that subject already have good mental health awareness. So in that sense, are we really spreading awareness? Yeah, we are reinforcing these people, but it's not really spreading awareness. So I feel like mandatory is a very important part of spreading awareness for the importance of mental health to people who initially don't see any importance in it. So it's important in changing people's mind. But I do think it needs to be more practical than theoretical. I don't think anybody's gonna get anything useful out of it if it's only theory and the exams and the tests are just testing on theory. People need to learn like coping mechanisms, like things that they can apply to their own life and also in supporting the people around them.
I highly disagree with the mandatory part. I think a huge part of psychology is consent. Everything we do in psychology is to gain consent from people. And by making it mandatory, you revoke that right from people to be able to choose whether they want to do something. And what if the person is already doing something that makes them happy, but now they have to take the time out of their day to not do that thing that made them happy, but instead attend a workshop, which most probably, let's be honest, the university will arrange it like a lecture as well. There's no assignments this time, but we have to sit there for a few hours while someone explains to us things that we already know, but we are not actually doing. We just absorbing the same information and again. But I think if the university does implement a workshop to help people to gain empathy and be able to understand what mental health truly is, it should be mandatory, but it should be highly encouraged. Maybe the university can reward students who do attend, give a certificate, like try to reinforce the behavior as opposed to trying to say you have to do it or not, you will not pass the course or not, you won't do this. Like, I think doing it that way, we push away the students and make them hate it as opposed to what we need it to be, which is encouraging mental health awareness.
I second on that because the thing is, making it a mandatory course, a practical class, whatever, it puts an incredible amount of pressure on not just the students, on the staff that's going to have to teach that subject as well, because that subject would have to be nothing less than perfect. If you mess it up, you're going to mess up the mental health of everybody that has to attend that mandatory class. And also, making it mandatory puts the stress on the students, thinking that, we now have to pass this. This is another thing that's going to affect our grades, our CGPA, which is already, let's be honest, is being affected by other subjects. So it's a lot of pressure. It's high pressure and high risk. for everybody.
How do you think your background as a psychology or non-psychology student influences how you view mental health in general?
Personally, when I start studying psychology, I start gaining some knowledge on more on deep understanding on the different kinds of mental health issues and how does it comes from. So at least I able to apply my knowledge and also able to guide outsiders for non-psychology students to know how to help them to answer like the myth.
I would say yes, it helps me because I feel that I'm being more understanding when I see people going through any like mental health issues or even children who go through meltdowns.
I think studying psychology has helped me to realize that in a way not everything is as it seems, and almost everyone has like their own issues going on, and people don't really talk about it, and it's fine. So it's better to give people the benefit of the doubt when you want to judge them or if you want to do otherwise. Yeah.
I think for me, the reason I wanted to learn psychology in the first place is to understand the reason people act a certain way, and I think I definitely did. I got to empathize with people onto why they act a certain way, and I think that being able to see full-grown adults or even children act a certain way, I'm able to understand it and maybe not judge as much as I used to. Maybe.
As an art student, I haven't really gotten exposure of it as a mental issue yet, but I'm always taught to express myself through multiple art forms in order to cope with mental illness.
As for me, coming from business major, it's more of like how do I cater to the demands and make profit. So if they have problem in certain area, I was like, oh, how do I make money out of that? So to be frank.
Obviously, I won't have much knowledge as a psychology student, but what I do believe is as an individual, you are capable of learning something. And basic empathy is not something that should be forced upon or taught and educated. It should come naturally.
Coming from a data analytics background, nothing much on mental health, honestly, but it's just through life experiences on the go daily. Like I just get molded from that, basically.